Hello everybody, this is Gary Walters. Today is August 31st, 2021, and it is hot here in Charleston, South Carolina. So today I'm going to tap this Flow Hive Super, which is full of honey. This will be the last time I harvest from this hive and maybe this one this season. And then the rest of our season, which really goes on until the end of October, early November, with the goldenrod, asters, and other things, I'll let the bees keep that honey for winter. So just thought it might be interesting for you to see how I tap the honey out of this flow hive. First thing I do, I set up a jack and jack it up the hive slightly to tilt it backwards so that I get a nice even flow out of the tubes into the bucket that I'm going to use. So I'll show you how that goes. First we're going to give the bees a little smoke, calm them down just a little bit, because as you can see they're real happy and excited that I'm here. Okay, so now we're back in behind the hive where I'll set up. All the controls for the flow hive are in the rear of the hive, in rear of the super, which is right here. Earlier I took off the observation door here and saw that these frames were totally full of honey. And so I went in and I got my contraption that I've invented so that I can tap the honey right out of the hive, and it works quite well. I'm taking off the observation door here. I drilled two holes slightly larger than an inch in diameter, about an inch and an eighth, into the lid of a food grade bucket here. And what I've done is I've cut two clear plastic 1-inch tubes that will fit exactly into the holes where you tap the honey out of the flow hive. Now, it's rare that I get any debris out of the flow hive frames when I tap them. I usually just put it straight into a jar, but this is so much of it I'm going to put it into a 1-gallon bucket. So what I've done is take a paint straining cloth, something you can buy at Lowe's or Home Depot or local hardware, and just put over the end of each tube. That helps keep any debris that might get through the tube from going into your bucket. So from this bucket, I never heat my honey, I never add anything to it. So from this bucket, I'll put it right into the jars. So that goes on just like this. The other added advantage is that this keeps the bees and other things from, in case they get hungry, they smell the honey, from getting into it. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so what I've done here is got everything all set up so that we can begin to harvest this honey. You can see that all the cells are full. If you look down the sides of the frames or pull off one of the observation hives, observation windows on the side, you can see that all the cells are capped. So it's ready to be harvested. It's all honey. And we can do this with a flow hive without really interrupting or affecting the bees very much. So first thing I'll do is remove this little wooden panel up here. I keep screws in it just to help hold it in place when I'm examining the hive throughout the year, although most of the times the bees will propolize it and it sticks it into place pretty well. Look at that. Look at all that bee glue. It is totally stuck together. All right. Always on the lookout for hive beetles. I see them. They meet their end. There's usually a couple of them in there. Now, as you can see, there was so much propolis that they pulled some of the caps out. So I'm going to stick those back in place. I don't want the bees going up in there. So I'll put the caps in place until I'm ready to harvest that particular frame. There we go. One. Looks like my neighbor's mowing their lawn over there. Hopefully it won't take them long. And 4. All right. Now, just in case, I like to keep a little smoke handy in case the bees smell the honey and come around. Make sure my smoker's going well. Look at that. Hive beetles don't like smoke either. Come on out, little beetle. There you are. I'm so sorry I had to squash you. Okay. So here is how we do it. I'm going to start right in the center and work outward. So I take out the little plugs. It's slippery today. Now normally, when you get a flow hive or even the Chinese knockoffs, they come with a clear plastic tube that goes into here and you can tap it into a jar. It'll flow right into a jar. But I found that was a lot of extra work for me because I've got quite a few hives. Not all of them are set up with flow hives, but a good many. So I found it easier for me, make sure there's no debris in there, to do it this way with the tubes. Sometimes you gotta work a little bit to get them into place, but it's worth it. All right, there we go. Okay, now we use these two big iron keys here to open the cells and let the honey flow down. Well, those things are stuck back in there already. Let's get them out. That propolis, that is some sticky stuff. Amazing that the bees can make that from plant and tree sap. Yeah, I needed my better pair of pliers today, but I loaned them to my son for a car project that he was on. All right, here we go. We're going to start with this one right here, which is, you can see is all full of honey. Insert these rods. I go in about halfway. I like to use 2 rods because it kind of puts even pressure on the plastic. You turn it 90 degrees, make sure it's open, and we'll wait and see that the honey is flowing. No, let's see, you have to go in the bottom. Here we go. Look at that, it's starting to drip down already. If you can see this, you see the honey is just beginning to flow down the tube. As it drains out of the comb, this is an artificial plastic honeycomb. When I turn these rods, it opens the cells like that, and the honey just flows down. And it's flowing out the tube. A nice warm day like this is going to flow really well. Alright, let's open the other side. I only go in halfway. Gives the honey time to flow out evenly, and it's a lot easier to turn. Here it comes. Straight down. Frame number 2. So as you can see, the bees are really not paying any attention to this at all. They're still out foraging, the foragers are, and they're going and coming through the front of the hive. Now sometimes, it depends on the conditions, they'll come back here and check out what I'm doing. But, or you can't see it, but all on this side of this hive, there's bees all over the side of the hive staying cool in this hot weather. And they're not paying any attention at all to what I'm doing, even though I'm tapping honey. Most of it's contained in these tubes, so they really can't smell it all that much. Alright, I'm going to go in the rest of the way. Whoops, knocked the tube out. Now the bees will notice it. Spilled a little honey. They'll be back here to collect that in no time. Look at that, beautiful honey just flowing down there. So each one of these frames, when they're full, normally holds a little over a quart of honey, about a quart and a half sometimes if they're totally full. This has been a very productive hive. I've already tapped the honey out of this hive once earlier this season, and it produced about almost 5 gallons of honey on that harvest. So I thought I'd show you a quick close-up of how this looks from my angle. You can see the honey flowing down the flow frame cells because they all point toward the center just like a natural honeycomb. And out this little trough at the bottom into the tube. And then down through the strainers into my 5-gallon bucket. Isn't that pretty? Well, I'll tell you what, this sure is a lot simpler than uncapping and spinning frames of honey and then straining and all the other things you have to do. All right, well, it looks like this one on the right is about empty, so it's still flowing a little bit, but I'm just going to get ready to tap the next one. This one here is still flowing pretty well. It must have had more in it. I'll give it just another minute here. The advantage to using this flow hive system, besides saving a lot of labor, is that when I'm finished, I can close these cells back up, and the bees can will immediately go back in and clean off the broken wax cappings and start sealing the cells up and refilling them again. Unless I've got drawn comb ready to go back into a traditional Langstroth frame, when I harvest the honey, the bees have to wait until I take it, uncap it, spin it, and get the frames cleaned out and bring the honeycomb back to them, which sometimes can take about a week. So this is a big advantage. Plus, I don't have to lift these huge supers full of honey, which can weigh about 80 pounds. I have some medium honey supers, but I do run some deeps too, and they can be quite heavy. And I'll tell you what, at my age, that's no fun pulling 85 pounds off the top of a beehive. So for me, this is a lot easier and a lot more fun too. All right, so we'll get set up to harvest this frame next to it here. To tell my son I need my pliers back. The bees do get in there and propolize all of these, every little single crack and crevice in the beehive. It's amazing how they can find any little opening and do that. All right, so this one's about finished. So what I'm going to do is close the cells back up so that it won't continue to drip. And then I can close the little opening to the control right here to keep the bees from going in there. All right, so that one's closed. Get it set up on the next one to open it. I'm going to put the cap back in it, keep the bees out. There we go. This one's still flowing. So we're going to move this over here. You'll notice a little honey continue to drip out of here. There is a hole, a gap down in there. Once I plug it, that excess honey will fall into the bottom brood chamber where the bees can clean it up. All right, here we go. We're gonna go in about halfway. Open this one up. There we go. Already starting to flow. There it comes. Amazing. Look at that. That's a nice flow of honey. Well, this one continues to flow a little bit there, so I'll just leave it where it is. Normally I'll leave them on till, it's pretty much all out and just dripping a little bit. But for the purposes of the video, I try to move along a little quicker. There's a lot of honey in this frame. I guess you can't see it, but the trickle of honey is probably about a ½ inch, well, up here about 3/4 of an inch wide. I have a few bees back here smelling around, so I'm going to give them a little puff smoke. Just tell them, go back around front. Nothing here for them. Alright, so I think I'll go ahead and open this one all the way. And I'm going to close this one down. Now, that's all I got to do. And it's ready for the bees to fill up again. Just give it a second here. Put this cap back in it. Okay. So, the next one will be this one over here. I do have a better set of needle nose pliers, and they work much better in what I'm doing here. So we get this all set up. Let's move this over. Whoop, that's still coming out. So we're going to wait just a minute longer on this one. All right, I think that one's about done. Let's put that in there. Put this in there. And let it roll. Here it comes. Look at all that honey flowing down there. Good grief. There's a lot of honey. What I'm doing is holding this tube tightly to the frame right now because I noticed a little honey dripping out from underneath. Now the bees will clean all of that up. They'll get down there and clean up every little speck of it, but the goal is to get it in my bucket, not on the ground. All right, I'm going to go in the rest of the way, open the cells. There we go. You can see here that I've drained all the honey out of all the cells. This last one on the right is just the last little trickle of honey coming down the tube and running into the bucket. And if you look closely, right here, you can see that the bees are up in there in between the frames, working, recapping the cells, cleaning them out, getting ready to put more honey in. Pretty amazing stuff. So that's it out of these hives today. I'm just going to tap this one. The other three are still filling up, so I'm not going to bother them. You can see the bees come out on the outside of the hive. They're cooling off, giving more space in the hive for the other bees to fan and evaporate the nectar. So that's it today. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Bye from Charleston.